Total War Warhammer 3 is an absolutely massive game. And even though you're already familiar with Total War, or even the Warhammer series itself, each new faction in this game offers completely new mechanics and features. This means that whether you're a pro or completely new, Warhammer 3 will keep you on your toes and toss a sometimes mean amount of new features and events at you. That's why I thought it would be helpful to make a quick and easy to follow guide to the essentials of some of the Warhammer factions. This is the first of a two-part series, and in this first part, we're taking a look at Grand Cathay, the Chinese-inspired faction at the far northeastern side of the world, focusing on the faction led by legendary Lord Miao Ying. The second part will focus on Kislev and Tsarina Katarin, so make sure you check out part 2 as well for that sweet insight into this Eastern European-inspired faction. And if that sounds like something for you, I really hope you leave a like and consider supporting me on Patreon. These videos demand a lot of time and work, and your support would really mean the world to me. And now, a guide to Total War Warhammer 3's Grand Cathay. Grand Cathay is a land of contradictions, as many of its gameplay mechanics will reveal. Let's take a look at the geography of our faction, and get an overview of our political situation. Our capital city of Nanjiao sits at the southern border of the Great Bastion, and is in the beginning the only city under your command. We begin with our army led by Miao Yang, and are tasked with defeating a nearby force, but also to conquer nearby settlements and resettle the collapsed section of the Great Bastion called Snake Gate. For sake of ease, let's jump ahead a few turns to get a better overview of our surroundings. Each faction in Warhammer 3 belongs to an overarching faction. In our case, the northern provinces belong to the Grand Cathay faction, and as you can see, we're not really all getting along. About half of the sub-factions, namely the Celestial Loyalists and Imperial Wardens, are our friends, while the other lords have gone rogue and are actively fighting us for the supremacy of the land. As our northern provinces, this means that you need to balance these relationships. You can only hope to handle the southern rogue Cathay states if you're allied with the ones to the north, as they will provide a natural shield to monster incursions coming from that direction. And chaos have mercy on you if you somehow find yourself in a war with all of Cathay at once. No, instead, your best option here is to cultivate these relationships. This is why securing your northern borders should be your first task, as neighboring allies is always a good position to be in. This includes recapturing Snake Gate, our only real way to ensure our safety. Just remember to bring a massive force there, as we need to completely repopulate this razed city, meaning a large chunk of our army is used to repopulate it. Another reason is because you're likely to be invaded shortly after, as armies from beyond the wall are never far away. Having dispatched of our nearest enemies and linked up with our allies in the north will give us a much needed breathing room for the time being, and this is when you can really begin to think about expanding southward and deal with the rebellious lords of Cathay. Remember to remain on good terms with your allies though, because even though we won't forcefully take their settlements, having good relations will make it possible to confederate with them later, essentially annexing them and creating one Grand Cathay. Woohoo, he said the name of the faction! That was the geography and initial expansion of the northern provinces. But what about the other parts? Well, since we've been talking so much about bolstering our defenses, let's take a look at the Great Bastion itself. The Great Bastion serves as our main defense westward, but even though it stretches from south to north, only parts of this wall may be attacked at any given time. These are known as gates, and there are 3 of them in total. These are Snake Gate, where you should be in control, Dragon Gate, and Turtle Gate, both of which are held by the Imperial Wardens. Not only are these settlements in and of themselves, but they only allow for building of special buildings whose purpose is to maintain the gate and the army stationed there. For example, a bastion barracks will significantly reduce the upkeep costs for your armies in the city, and a lumber pile will net you much needed defensive supplies and more ammunition for your ranged units in the province. A unique mechanic has also been added and relates to the maintenance of the bastion, namely the Great Bastion Threat Meter. This meter shows that the chaos invasions are inevitable and will arrive, but at what pace is determined by who controls the gates themselves. When the gates are destroyed, more invasions will happen, and the opposite is true for when they are maintained by Cathay factions. When invasions occur, however, chaos come forth at a much faster rate than before, and it's up to you to make sure your defenses are ready for when that happens. Once the invasion is kept at bay, the meter resets, and even though enemies will still assault the gates, you'll have some breathing space before the next major invasion force arrives. The bastion gates themselves are luckily heavily fortified walls and supports a powerful garrison, and as long as you can take advantage of that, you might just succeed in keeping the enemy on the other side of that wall. Another one of Cathay's main mechanics is the all-important harmony system, which has a major impact on both the campaign and battle systems. In the campaign, harmony is defined as the balance of yin and yang. Achieving harmony means that you'll get substantial bonuses to your faction such as massive reductions in construction costs, huge boost to your diplomatic relations with Cathay factions, more control over your area, and a boost to income. However, should your yin or yang unbalance the scales, these buffs will be lost and replaced by bonuses featuring only yin or only yang buildings. So what is meant by buildings in this regard? And how do we influence these scales? Well, almost every building you can construct as Cathay will belong to either yin or yang, so building one of these will tip the scales on point towards the chosen side. In addition, technology, characters, and events also influence harmony, and if you wish to gain all the best bonuses, you'll absolutely need to pay attention here. Every one of these lets you know which side they belong to, and each army will further tell you which side their general favors. Tipping the scales too much in one direction will see virtually half of your buildings net you much less income if you're trying to go for a harmony run, so be aware of that. In addition, every Cathay unit belongs to either the yin or yang subgroup, and as a rule, melee troops and technology favors yang, while long-range troops and technology favors yin. Recruiting units themselves have no effect on the campaign harmony level though, so you're totally free to recruit as many cannon-only armies as you like. Where it does matter though, is on the battlefield. You see, when yin and yang units fight apart from one another, they fight like normal, but when they're closer together, they each receive a battle harmony bonus which can really sway the tides of battle. Again, the campaign harmony mechanic has no effect on the battle harmony mechanic, but individually, the campaign has you balance yin and yang to achieve faction bonuses, and the battles have you position units near each other to strengthen both at the same time. In the campaign, the meter can change and sway. In battle, it's either nothing or everything. As the northern provinces of Cathay are a defensively focused faction, you will additionally do well in using the faction's range units as well as you can, even though a good cavalry charge never hurts. The realm's faction leader Miao Ying herself can turn into a powerful dragon in the midst of battle, and along with Cathay's cannons and airships, it's never a bad idea to take advantage of the faction's area of effects attacks. Next up is the Wuxing compass. Perhaps rather complex looking to begin with, the compass is important to understand as it provides you with powerful bonuses depending on your needs. The compass is divided in 4, each focusing on a different part of your campaign. The Great Bastion focuses on maintaining your armies, the Celestial Lake boosts your economy and growth, Dragon Emperor's Wrath improves your control or public order, and Warp Zone Desert lowers corruption and your enemy's Winds of Magic reserves. By pointing the needle in the varying directions, you are essentially filling them up with magic over time, making the effects active until they are lowered again. It is up to you to find a balance here, and if you're lacking in money as you might after building an army, it would be wise to at least put some effort into increasing the Celestial Lake, as it provides some powerful economic bonuses. The last of the Cathay exclusive features are related to finance, namely the Ivory Road mechanic. Here we have the opportunity to send large caravans of goods to other parts of the world. There's even a unique Ivory Road map where you get to choose where to send your goods, and once decided, your caravans will begin the journey there and back again. There is more to be aware of though. You do pay a lump sum of gold at the beginning of the journey in order to get more back later, and the further away you travel, the more money will eventually return to you. Just be aware that your caravan might be attacked on its way, which makes it all the more important to pay attention to the caravan leader's skill tree, which allows you to lower their level of ambush rates. Whether we're talking buildings, armies, units, compasses, or caravans then, Cathay is all about balance and finding the equilibrium in all things, and is in large part what separates them from the rest. And if you can find the balance between attack and defense, ranged and melee, yin and yang, then I have no doubt that you can go a long way with Cathay and the northern provinces. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found this tutorial useful, but if you have any more questions, do let me know in the comments. Make sure to watch part 2 of this series for a guide to Kislev, where we go over the most important aspects of that faction and how to succeed with them. If you enjoyed the video, I sincerely hope you leave a like and consider subscribing to my Patreon, which really would go a long way in helping me make more content just like this and more. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!